Many years ago, when I bought my first car, I was just so pumped to drive. I began to forget some of the really important details that go into maintaining a car. And unfortunately, as I was driving this first car, going down the highway, I had this vehicle completely shut off on me. This is a cautionary tale, but very instructive. I've looked back on that experience throughout my life, looked back at some of the non-negotiables that unfortunately come up in story form as things to do and things not to do. Just like a car, at the very beginning of the day, if we aren't putting in the right type of fuel in that vehicle, as much hope as we have to get to various destinations, we may not get there if we don't put the right type of fuel in our bodies. And so from the very beginning, it is absolutely critical in the morning to start with something that's actually going to be substantial and provide the type of energy that you need to perform at certain levels. And so quick fix solutions, like maybe just getting coffee or just living on a Monster energy drink in the morning, probably not a solution that is going to carry you to peak performance throughout the day. So the next would be getting in the car. So after you've had a balanced meal with proteins, healthy fats, and complex carbohydrates, we all have vehicles. In some cases, when you work at home, your vehicle is your desk. But at any way, we want to, like a vehicle, look at the dashboard and kind of get a quick checkup from the neck up to determine how we are going to move forward. And certainly we want to move forward day in and day out with intention. But it can be really difficult if some of the things from the day before are still weighing on your mind. So let me submit that one of the most powerful ways to clear your mind and to set the right intentions is to first focus on good breath, good posture, but then to do a brain dump and to journal. Most of your phones have a journal app or a notes app. These can be some of the greatest resources of all time for you, because sometimes before we can move forward, we really do have to work through things that have happened the day before. And perhaps that exercise may lead to things that have happened decades before. Sometimes that will be part of your experience. But this brain dump experience will help you to check in, again, just like you would looking at the gauges on a vehicle. So then moving into a day, I encourage you to stay hydrated. Most of you have water here that's sitting right in front of you. That is such a healthy practice. We want to make sure that burnout at the end of the day is being mitigated by the things we're doing in the front end of the day. And so after you've set your intentions for the day and you begin to move into the day, I strongly encourage you to keep, and I would keep about 40 ounces, and I do. If you saw this desk over here, I have a 40-ounce thing of water, so that when my water is completely gone, I know to fill it up again. And what that does is that in the midday before lunch, it gets us up and moving. As exciting as it is to get into a flow state, we need pattern interrupts that can help our physiology to move a little bit of a different direction so that we can come back to our work and perform at that peak performance. And so, again, filling your water back up is a very fantastic practice. One of the things that I often do is I will schedule calls very intentionally at about 10 o'clock in the day. 10 or 10:30, I often have calls scheduled so that there's movement midday, so that I can come back again to whatever the project is and have a little bit more presence. Isn't it amazing that when we take care of ourselves, the more we invest into ourselves, the more we actually have to invest in other people? I think that is such a fascinating topic. And yet sometimes we are just so focused on these tasks that we lose ourselves. And so then comes lunch. Well, if you have a little bit of movement midday, that is going to literally help you metabolically to prepare for lunch. One of the things that many of us can agree on is that a lot of lunches put us into kind of a crash. And in fact, a lot of executives that I work with say that they plan most of their days from as early as they can wake up until about lunch, anticipating that they're going to have that lunch crash. Isn't that amazing? They anticipate that. But again, the active motion in a midpoint of the day can help you metabolically prepare for that lunch time. As well, maybe some of you have heard of meal sequencing. So let me share a tip for you to write down. This crash that happens after lunch, one of the biggest reasons for this crash is this response that our body has to release insulin or to balance blood sugar. The things that we eat cause a huge spike in insulin because our body needs to move things around. Well, to reduce that spike of insulin, when you eat, you can use this tool of GPS to navigate any of your lunch meals, whether that's at a networking event, whether that's at home, at any place. If you eat greens first, followed by protein second, and then move into the things that break down into sugar, that's the S at the end, complex carbohydrates and simple sugars is that S. This order will help your body so it doesn't have to release as much insulin. And it will help your blood sugar to be more balanced after lunch, thus preventing that crash, thus enabling you to continue to perform at your highest potential. So then midday moves forward. You're now at, say, 3 o'clock in the day. This is, for many people, a time where we hit this proverbial wall. And I love the story about the man that wants to try, wants to see what it's like to be in a race car. And this is a personal dream for me as well. This man gets in a race car with an instructor, and in this course to learn how to race this race car, there's a part of the track where they've intentionally put water and oil. And as soon as the driver gets into this space, it's intentionally designed to cause a tailspin. Well, the story ensues that this man does go into this tailspin, and he is literally thinking about only one thing, and that's hitting this wall. Well, your thoughts may first have gone to, well, he's got this instructor, so this instructor's going to grab the wheel. Well, that's not what he did. In fact, what he did was, rather than take control of the vehicle, all he did was turn this man's attention back to the track. And I think that's instructive, because when we are in those moments of nearly hitting these proverbial walls, there are so many things that we can do to continue to move forward. Oftentimes, again, it's some of the things that you're doing midday. It's getting extra water, staying hydrated. It's not always getting a snack, by the way. We want to make sure in between our meals that there's nothing that is having to be digested. And that's going to be a critical part of wellness later in the day. So doing something with breath work or movement, maybe light exercise at 3 o'clock. A lot of times people will do 15 minutes of something active. And that then moves us into a dinner meal. So it's been said that when we eat, we want to eat like a king for breakfast, we want to eat like a queen for lunch, and we want to eat like a pauper for dinner. Effectively, this is saying that that evening meal, we're not going to have as much activity in the evening. It's more of a preparatory state to get into recovery from the day. And so a lighter meal, still focused on high fiber greens, protein second, and then complex carbohydrates is recommended. But then a couple of things that I'd encourage you to think about as you're moving into the next day. Remember that everything that you're doing today is going to impact your next day. There literally is a compound effect that happens with our choices, made or not made. And so being very cognizant of what your activities are in the evening, making time for rest, but even pulling away from some of the activities that are more frequented. If you're somebody that's on a screen all day long, conscientiously focusing on not being on a screen and maybe turning to relationships and perhaps even having a conversation to emotionally and psychologically connect with a human being that is not business related or otherwise is such a critical component. For those of you that have relationships with a significant other and you want to keep them, I've learned, and in some cases by sad experience, that if you are not emotionally connecting, making deposits emotionally with the people that you care about, there is no question that, like that car that I had when I was 16 years old, that is the oil to true fulfillment, is the relationships that we have in our lives. And so making that time is absolutely critical. Now, lastly, as exciting as it is to be involved in a project, create boundaries. Just like you'd create boundaries with a balanced meal, maybe you even have a specific time every single day. This is when I eat. It's so important that you have consistent rhythms at night. Getting adequate rest, saying at this time of day, I'm going to drop everything, and now I'm in a preparatory state for the next day for rest. Being intentional about this is so critical. If you are feeling, even right now, the effects of lack of sleep from last night, or the effects of nutrition from the day before, these rhythms, when we're awake and when we're asleep, they ultimately create feeling and emotion. But wherever you're at, just know that the next phase of the day, wherever you're at this particular point, that is the next step. There's always a next best step. I like to say as a fitness coach that your fitness is never owned. It's rented, and the rent is due every day. Thank you.